Hello, this is Mike from Dimensional Walking, and today we're going to talk about, I guess we'll say it, something very interesting. Okay? So imagine the world beneath your feet teeming with life, advanced technology, and a history older than our own. This is maybe the stuff of science fiction, or it could be the evidence of an underground, hidden civilization that is maybe even has been shaping our world over the many, many years it's existed. So, and I'm going to touch on a few things that I think we should consider when we're talking about underground civilizations on Earth or maybe on Mars also. So, anyways, so kind of a core question, I would say, are hidden underground civilizations that have existed for a millennium influencing human history? Now, I don't think I'm going to be able to answer that, okay? But I think it's a core question, and I think it's a question that somebody needs to explain or try to understand or communicate with us, okay? So it's at least something to consider. So let's talk about some ancient legends that indicate potential underground civilizations. So the first one I'm going to talk about briefly is a place called Agatar, and it's a legendary, um, deep underground civilization that is under the Himalayan mountains, and it actually leads to this kind of underground area that has many legends to it. Okay, and there's legends that are brought up more currently when the Sherpas climb Mount Everest. Many times they run into creatures or beings or something that seem to come out of nowheres, and they talk about, or they actually have visions when they see these beings of some type of underground paradise. Okay, and it's pretty incredible stuff, basically. And it's the same thing has happened over and over again, primary to the Sherpas, not so much the regular climbers, but mainly to the Sherpas. So, and of course, then there's the legend of Yeti and all those things which may be connected with this underground Agarda um, region area. So, anyways, so then, of course, there's and that's the Tibetan lore. Okay. And then, of course, we have the Norse mythology. And of course, that has to deal with Valhalla and then the dark world, the deep dark world of of the kingdoms and the things that they believe in their mythologies. And those are very prevalent in many ways. So we have these advanced knowledge, hidden cities, and often these cities are connected with the Earth's core in many ways. So then, of course, there's another Tibetan one. It's called Shambhala, and it describes this hidden paradise of advanced technology. And then we can talk about the Mayan civilization, where it is believed that the souls traveled to when they die. When humans die, their souls would journey to this place, this underground Maya uh, place in which they have this strange civilization existed. And then, of course, there's a place. Turkey seems to be. Let me just make this statement about Turkey. Turkey has several different, really unusual places that seem to be related to underground cities, etc. So we'll talk about a few of those. One of them is called Danakoyu, Danakoyu, and it is the structures in Turkey of this ancient uh, system in which it has these tunnels, and inside there it looks like it has this civilization. It doesn't, there's no people there now that we're aware of, but it could have housed up to 20,000 people. Pretty incredible, actually. And then we can talk about the ancient tunnel systems that are under the pyramids. And then there's the extension network of Roman catacombs underneath Rome. And of course, we can discuss that these structures that we're talking about, these underground places, were a place where there was refuge, storage, ritual purposes. All these things could have happened in these places. And there could be, and again, this could also be some of these remnants could also be part of a greater civilizations connected. Maybe these things are networked. We'll find out someday they're networked, which would be pretty amazing, right? So then there's these tunnels. Again, I mentioned them under Rome, and they actually have an actual name. They're called Cloaca Maxima. And these are and there's also the catacombs. These are again underground facilities, underground tunnels, underground places where people lived and did things. We're not sure all these things that they did, but they do exist. Okay. And again, many of these could be connected in some way, some shape, form, or manner. Okay. And then there's these modern recent now these discoveries I'm going to talk about next are some of the more modern ones. And there was this cave system in Vietnam. It's called Sun Dung Cave, and it again is this vast cave underground where there seems to be these remnants of a civilization that possibly lived there. Okay, another example. And of course, then there's this ongoing exploration of the Mayan underground and through these what they call these sea notes, which they refer to as these portals to the other world, and these underground underwater caves that have this vast network of caves and tunnels, and they're finding remnants of existing or not existing, uh, possibly existing, but at least in the past, these civilizations that lived in these places. And then some other recent findings were in, again, Turkey. And this is a place called the Gobek Tapra, Göbekli Tepe, and this is an area that's sort of like a Stonehenge, but they believe that there's some extensions of of tunnels and things that come from this kind of a Stonehenge formation, these 20 pieces of stone. And there's also tunnels off to the side that seem to also go underneath these stones, which they believe probably are some vast network underneath that are still being explored today as we speak. And then I don't want to forget about, Yucatan Peninsula and all the exploration of tunnels that are under some of those pyramid structures. And of course, the Himalayas, there's also some expeditions right now as we speak, going out there and looking at some underground structures there that could mean civilizations. So there is these kind of things that are going on. They're kind of groundbreaking, and hopefully they find something really fascinating. So, anyways, let's talk about a little bit about some of the technologies that have been found that may be related to these underground cities. Okay, and one of them is this anti uh, Harada, Harada, which is this mechanism that was found underground. And it turned out to be a Greek astronomical calculator, which would tell you the positions of the moon, the sun, and the planets. And then there's these monolithic structures, places that we've briefly touched on, Stonehenge, the pyramids, suggesting just advanced knowledge that these that they were able to produce these type of things. And these weren't just regular Egyptians. These were actually, I believe, advanced civilizations. Okay. And so what is maybe the reason why maybe the civilizations that once lived above ground went underground? And of course, some of the speculation, and I seem to agree with some of it, is there was these catastrophic climate change things that were going on. Okay. And they were driven underground. Okay. Now, a little side comment here. I also believe that there were civilizations on Mars that were also driven underground because of some type of a climate situation that, the upper atmosphere was lost to some kind of a catastrophic event. So obviously the civilizations existed maybe on Mars, but for sure on Earth, probably were exposed in the past to some climatic change, possible some type of other event. And of course, this could be, I guess, extreme weather or natural disasters. And of course, the long-term strategy was to survive. And one of the ways was to take the civilization above ground and let's go below. And of course, there's always going to be this exploration in which we're going to probably start, we're going to continue to find artifacts underground. I really believe that. Okay. So let's see what else we got here. So then, of course, talking about natural disasters, and then there's the Junger Dryas impact hypothesis, which you probably all have heard about. That some 12,900 years ago, there was this impact from a meteor that forced these civilizations underground. And, of course, the evidence of past ice ages and impact of human migration, and the survival um, all indicates that humans that are around about 13,000 years ago moved underground, at least temporarily, until all the conditions above ground got better, and then they came back up again. But obviously, there's all these sites around the Earth that indicate that the sites, this living underground, was a something that actually did happen. Okay, now there seems to be suppression, at least in my estimation, my study, I see kind of suppression that the government does not want us to know about this. Um, they don't want us to know maybe the full extent. My guess is that they found giants under the earth, and they don't want to bring that up. Okay, uh, because it just changes history, and even the scientists and the universities don't want that to happen. That's my belief. I don't know how true that really is. So, of course, there's alternate explanations of what all this underground stuff is. And of course, it's very possible some of these underground structures had something to do with mining, something to do with defense, and maybe religious practices to go underground. And it had nothing to do with actually living there long term. Um, I think it's important to consider this. I don't want to jump right in there and say this is the way it is. So humans lived underground for a period of time, because I think there could be other explanations for this. So I want to talk about now something on a personal note that has to do with underground. So I would go around in my younger days, I would go around and do some exploring myself. I've been in this business for over 50 some plus years, definitely on the plus side. And so I would go around. One of the places I went to was Mount Shasta. And I went there and I did meditations on the side of the mountain, and all kinds of really cool stuff happened. One of the things that happened, which I will never forget, I've probably forgotten a lot of things, but I haven't forgotten this one, was that during a meditation, a group of beings came to me and told me that they were from under the mountain. And when they said under the mountain, I assumed they meant under Mount Shasta. They didn't say Mount Shasta, they said under the mountain. Okay. And of course, I was right there at the base of Mount Shasta, or actually up the mountain a ways, when I was doing my meditation. And they showed me, they said, come and see it. You may come and see it. We'll allow you to come and see it. And then they kind of gave me a little bit of a preview. They showed me this beautiful place. I guess it would sort of be paradise, I guess, in many ways, although, again, it was just the visual of this place. It was very, very bright, almost like there was a sun there, but they're claiming it was under the mountain. And the people seem to be very happy there. They seem to be cheerful, playing. There seemed to be abundance for everybody. I can give you a somewhat of a description. They were tall. Many of them were tall. Some were blonde, but they were not 100% blonde. Many times you talk about the Palladians, but their hair was many different colors, although the ones that I was communicating with were very blonde. And they kept on inviting me in. I've always been a little cautious when people invite you in. I think you should be. You never quite know what that's all about. So I declined to go in. But I thanked them. I said, maybe I'll come back. I'll see what it is. But definitely it looked like a civilization underground. And, I heard stories. I also talked to people locally. Once I was finished with my meditation, I went into the little town and I started talking to some people, and a couple of them were talking about seeing these little miner people, these little people that looked like they were miners, that they were, you know, ple- that one of these guys was a spelunker and he was in a cave and he met one of these little entities, and he said that he couldn't believe it, but they were real. And he said they claimed they telepathed communication with them, with the guy that I was talking to, and they just said they were from underground, they lived underground, and they mined in the mountain, and that's pretty much what the guy said and what the entity had said to him. So, anyways, seems to be that something's going on underneath the ground. That's the way I feel. So, anyways, with all that said, let me just finish with saying this. And it's more of a question again. Could there be entire worlds existing beneath our feet, shaping our history as we know it? And I think there is. I think there is. From some of my own personal experiences and what research I've done and other people I've talked to. So I hope at the very least I stimulated your thought about this subject matter. I think it's important. I think it's always important to understand where we've come from and what history has been in the past. So with all that said, we'll see you. Bye.